never seen something like me.
Hi, I'm Amrit Dhaliwal. I'm the CEO and founder of Walfinch. Walfinch is a home care business. We've been providing care for about 4 or 5 years around the country. And I'm here today in Hampstead Heath with the first recording of Walking with Walfinch. It's a new podcast that I'm launching, and we'll be inviting various different speakers to interview and to get involved, and for our viewers to learn a lot from, I hope. I could probably do my whole childhood on this one stretch. So we're in Hounslow West on the Bath Road, and my folks, when they started running businesses and shops, this is where it was. I'm pretty sure it was this place now. About 30 years ago was their first one, which is now like a meat shop. But actually back then they ran various different incarnations. It was a video shop, it was, a shoe shop, it was a suitcase place. Resilience, keep going, kissing those frogs and saying, right, what works, what works. This is the street I learned how to ride a bike on. There was a car boot sale over there, and my mum got this 10-pound bike, and it had, sort of like a tricycle wheels on it. And I said, Mum, I don't want tricycle wheels. She's there, and she just, like He-Man, just pulls them together and right, you can ride it, go. And I'm like, well, is someone going to show me how to do this thing? But, and it's that kind of really typical immigrant culture of just get on with it. You can do it, just go. And you'll fall, you get up, you keep rolling. And as the years went on, there was some stores over here, and my friends bought 2 of them, knocked them through, and started, this is before, Tesco's got into this and Poundland and so on, but they started that kind of bargain shop. Household stuff, everything. So it was like, everything to everything. So it was, toys, it was, clothes, it was sort of kitchenware and, bed sheets and all that jazz. And, I've got to say, you looked nicer when we had it. My parents took a load of pride in this whole place. And, but I mean, it's really nostalgic being here today, and just sort of looking this is it. In so many ways it hasn't changed at all, but in so many ways it's changed completely. But it's so interesting when this is a street I ran down once when I was like 13 years old, and I'd be here after school basically every day. I'm like 13 years old, and someone's like trying to steal bed sheets, which is they were weirdly expensive, So, and I picked them up, and they picked them up. They started running, and I started running after them, thinking, "What happens if I catch this guy?" So, fortunately, he just threw them down, and I came back a victor. But and actually, but so much of it is that that kind of just, you have to keep going, the resilience, and if I look at my later years now and think, well, okay, where does that come from? So much of it comes from here, this street, where you learn how to do customer sales, you learn business, you understand, people are buying and selling shops and converting them, and this works, that doesn't, off we go. Next, you're having very awkward conversations with some people and so on, and it's, and you're having that difficult piece. So, and that's where we are. But yeah, so that's it. That there is me. That is my childhood down there. There used to be a hairdresser right here that closed down, and I remember her flipping out at me because she was like, "I should be charging you more for having such long hair." Sort of just weird things like that you sort of remember. But all of these small nuanced things create people, and I think when you're running a business, you've got to bring it all together and say, how does it work for me? What can I take from things that others have done, things that I've done, your personal life, and just bring it all together and say, right, how do I create my own motivation through this? We're at Hounslow's finest, airplane over top, and Heathton School. This is my old school, big old thing, and this is where it all happened. This is where all the learning happened. It's really interesting. I was invited here recently to speak to Year 11 students around business studies and business, and how what should they be doing and thinking about right now in order to kind of get to an entrepreneurial future. And some of the things that I was talking about was really about finessing the things that they just sort of take for granted right now. The that kind of negotiation that they will do on a daily basis because they don't necessarily have all of the same stuff as people down the road in Richmond and Twickenham and so on. And the kind of family backgrounds are very different. But I was like, if you can really hold on to that and learn that and really kind of understand how that benefits you. So, things like negotiation, things like, making the most out of a situation and just sort of saying, well, actually, yeah, I'm okay with X, and, I can squeeze out more out of this. And, you learn in a place like this and growing up in a place like this, you learn to get people to, you learn people. You just understand how to get people to do certain things not in a malicious way, but actually you just understand that. And so really honing in on those skills, I think, is quite key. So we're here in Richmond upon Thames. Good old Richmond. We've got Richmond Green over here, which is very beautiful. And behind me, you can see basically what's left of Richmond Palace, which is quite interesting. And apparently, I've heard that I think it was Queen Elizabeth that before she died, they sort of dropped her sovereign ring out of the window and said, right, take this to whoever it was next, and and said, it's your turn now. And Richmond's got such a special place in my heart. This is where my first business was when I was 21. It was just around the corner here. In fact, let's go and take a little look down there. We've got paved court. I was 21 when the deal was going through. 22 when it happened. And when we completed, it was an old Italian deli called Angelo, and surprisingly, the guy that started it was called Angelo, and he was from the south of Italy, really lovely guy, and bought this deli off him, not knowing a damn thing about restaurants, businesses, and any of that. But here we are. So I'm 22 at this point, bought this restaurant, and I remember one of my first issues was, you've got these canopies down here. And I was like, it was September, we completed at 4 o'clock, Angela left. And I was like, how do I put the canopy back? So, which was quite comical. And for those of you that like Ted Lasso, it is actually Ted Lasso's house, but not really. I don't know where he actually lives, but he always comes up to my old restaurant, and that's his place. This is the old hat shop. It's been here for many years. But this is the spot. It's a lovely little hole in the wall place. Upstairs, downstairs, and here we go. I converted it into a more of a fine dining Italian restaurant, opening evenings and all that after a couple of years. I sort of realized that actually it was after sort of understanding, when you buy something, you need to kind of put your own stamp to it. You need to understand, well, what is the vision that you've got for something. And so I sort of essentially just kind of shook it all up and changed it. So it was a deli, and then it became a proper restaurant, which basically meant rebranding, but also rethinking about everything that we did. And buongiorno. Come stai?
Bene, bene. Io sono lo chef.
Yeah, are you the chef?
Yeah.
My name's Amrit.
Enrico, nice to meet
Enrico. I used to run this place.
you. Yeah?
Yeah, hey. Is Manolo around?
Yeah, Manolo come tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, tell him Amrit was here.
Okay.
So,
I tell him.
yeah,
Come
so,
next
all right, please do. You too. Bye bye. And actually, now it's owned by somebody that used to work for me. She used to be my personal assistant. And when I was going through a bit of a situation with it, and she was like, "Amrit, I'd love to buy this place off you." And how amazing is that? And and she's opening a second site and all that. But it's got so much history. This old alley. Susan Clark's has been here since the beginning of time. This place used to be William Curley's, and it used to be an old chocolate shop. Really beautiful chocolatier, award-winning, and all that. But I'm going to take you along to Brewers Lane now, and that is where my second business was, and I was, at the very mature age of 24 at that time. And I actually went to Bath one day and went to the pump rooms. And if you haven't been, it was very lovely. Certainly it was, 15 years ago. And I thought, gosh, I'm paying £25 for scones and a cup of tea here. I could do this. I know the margins. And I came back and I started looking for premises. And I found this old fashion boutique that was closing down. And I thought, okay, we could do something with this. And so I took that on, rebranded it, made it into a much of a Marie Antoinette kind of place. And off we went, sort of started this tea room. But the key things that I learned while I was here, that resilience and grit stuff that I've spoken about, I mean, that really was something that I learned in sort of mountains here. When I remember there were times where, forget about rent and things like that, which are big chunky costs. But, I remember one day I sort of had this all clapped out Golf, 1.4 litre, which had been flooded around here because I didn't know that it was, low and high tide. And so I'm there, it's flooded. I was like, oh God, it smells like, rats. And it cuts off anytime I'm over 45 miles an hour. But hey, you carry on. Driving this thing around, and I go to the petrol station before work, which was not far from here. And that petrol pump, I get there, pull up, and I'm like, hold on a second. I put my hands in my pocket and find my leg. There was nothing in there. I was like, oh God, And so I've got a tank that's on red, and I'm like, okay, I can make it to the restaurant. I did a day here, earned some money, and on the way home, I went and put petrol in my car, And it's things like that I sort of think about now, and you think, God, brutal, right? And it's but that is running a business, and you learn. That is how I learned cash flow and figuring out, well, how does money work? Well, you need to. Entrepreneurial poverty is a real thing, and you need to figure out, well, where's my cash, where's the money for the tax man, and where's the money for the staff, and all of that, and really figuring that whole stuff out. I was reading Richard Branson's autobiography, Losing Your Virginity, and part of that, he spoke about investing his way out, and I thought, well, I could do that. And so my second franchising there, my second location here was the Teacup, which was just down here. If you haven't been to Daniele's, please check it out. This is the chocolate shop, where they've got the ice cream shop over here, and it's the best ice cream in the world by far. So, not sure what it is now, actually, because I haven't been here in so many years, but so let's have a look. We'll find out together. Which one is it even? Gosh, here we go. It's none of them. So, years ago when I started this, it was an old tea room, and the floor is still the floor that I laid, and that window back there, it was like there was an extension that was done. And I thought, well, actually, we can make that service window and put the kitchen behind it. And so I had a whole bunch of staff that were here that would make the scones and all the sandwiches and stuff in my restaurant, run them over here, and off we went. And, in this tiny little place, we used to turn around 120 covers on a Saturday. It was phenomenal. I was like 24 years old, won a business award with the Chamber of Commerce, and it was phenomenal. Ran it for just under a year, sold it, which really helped from a capital perspective, which I injected into the deli, making that into the restaurant, and then later into my home care business. And really, I think when you start thinking about planning and you start looking at things in 5-10 year blocks, you start thinking, well, okay, gosh, if I did this, this, and this, that will give me enough to do the next big thing that I want to do, and then that'll take me on a 10-year journey, and so on. And I think really fundamentally planning how you want your life to look and how you want to develop that will allow you to get there eventually. So I suppose there's two things here. The key thing for me has been planning in life and taking action. Constantly sort of thinking about the activity and what the action is. And from your side, thinking action, if you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to hear about other people's journeys like myself and entrepreneurs and their top tips and guides to success, then please like, share, follow, subscribe, and please tune in for the next one. Thank you very much for joining me.